guys, my name is Elizabeth Osanaye Jaffa. Anyway, you can just call me EOJ. And I would like to formally welcome you to the premiere episode of A Hell of a Pod. Now, it is only fair that when we want to do this, I do it with my oga at the top, because he's like the brain behind everything that we do at A Hell of a Media. From the pod to our fashion events and everything that we do with regards to storytelling, content, and everything in the African bridal culture. See, everything African that we do, he is the brain behind it. First, he's an outstanding, you see the way I'm laying emphasis on that word, he's an outstanding runway photographer. If you see where he takes bridal photos as well, then this one I said, I feel too comfortable in all of this, and he decided to move into videography. If you see his might in storytelling, I mean, what he's even doing right now, you guys are not ready for it. You are not ready for it at all. So just take it from me that I say you are not ready. So I'm personally titling this episode In the Beginning. That's like the beginning of the beginning. So you need to know why we are here. You know how they say, let's start what we have come here to do. Yes, that is what we're about to do right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lovers of fashion, lover of culture, art, lifestyle photography, with everything, storytelling. My guest is no other person than I've already said, my oga at the top. When you hear the, they say the in the front of his name. It's not, we don't address him by Mr. or anything. We address him as the. Ladies and gentlemen, the famous Isaacs. Do you have, is there extra fan or something that
are you really doing this?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. My oga, it's so great to have you as the very first guest on the pod. I mean, how else are we supposed to start it if not with you that is at the forefront of everything? Welcome to the pod. It's great to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
And we can see me. I'm already handling it. I don't know if you'll be able to handle it, because when he starts to speak, it's so much wealth of wisdom, so much knowledge to grab from this man. First and foremost, this man is a Benin man. So we'll be tricking some of pidgin, how we do it.
He did.
We'll be doing that as well on the pod. Tell us. Me, I know, just you guys. Tell us who famous Isaacs is. Let's get into it.
You see, but for a very long time in my life, I didn't have any answer to that question. And even now, the answers I have, I don't think it's satisfactory.
And who still take it?
There are a few things I'm sure of about myself. The fact that I'm a human being, I'm a Nigerian, and I'm someone who loves to see things work. When I'm able to contribute my quota to seeing things work, it gives me joy. That defines me. Whatever defines my moment of joy or happiness defines my person. So, just a human being who loves to see things work, and when he's able to make things work. I'm from Edo State, like you already said. I'm originally from Irua, Eastern Central. I grew up alone as an only child for a very long time. I later got to have half-siblings, a half-sister and 2 half-brothers now. But for a very long time, I grew up alone. And growing up, because I was alone, I had all the time in the world to think about myself and my life. And to see a lot of problems. So I developed the art of seeing problems from growing up alone. And eventually I started realizing that if I see a problem and complain about it, I'm not really helping anybody. And what I need to do is to, tell stories in a way that documents the problem. So even if I am not able to actively do something to solve the problems, at least other people that see the stories can connect and be moved to do something about it, which is about how I live my life now. Okay. So right now I work as a photographer and filmmaker and writer sometimes. I actually started as a writer, but now I transitioned into photography, I think in 2014. And last year, I decided that this year I'm going to go hard into filmmaking, and that's what I do now. But by the side, I'm also the convener of African Bridal Fashion Festival.
He's just being, I don't know. He's just being. He's not a mod. He's not a humble person. He's just trying. Maybe because he's on the pod, he's just trying to be humble. Maybe. So, as a child growing up, when you ask a lot of people, when did you know that you wanted to be a singer? They'll tell you, oh, I used to be in the choir, so I've always known that I had the talent. I've always known that I wanted to sing. Was that like the dream for you as a child? Did you always, I'm using photography because that's like what, when you say the famous Isaacs, that's what comes to a person's mind at first, before we start thinking of the storytelling. So every person that hears famous Isaacs thinks, oh, the photographer. So have you always known as a child that you wanted to do photography, or it was like a light bulb moment at some point that, oh, I could be a photographer? When did you actually know that you wanted to get into photography, and why?
Okay, so I think mine's a very complicated, interesting thing. Okay. I didn't always know what I wanted to do in life. So photography wasn't in the picture. But I knew that I loved the creative arts. I've always known that. I knew I loved the creative arts. I remember as early as from when I was like 6-7 years old, I started to draw. Okay. I know that, I remember that. And what inspired me then was my father studied agricultural science. And he didn't come from a privileged background. And when you come from the kind of family that my father came from, when you know that you lack a lot of things, you start to augment. So his own approach to augmenting, the drawings, having access to the drawings in the textbooks that they were supposed to buy, which he didn't have money to buy, his parents didn't have money to buy, was to learn to draw the pictures in a way that faithfully represents the pictures that he was seeing. So I grew up seeing those drawings that he did in his notebooks. But because he didn't make those drawings because he's an artist, he was forced by life to get perfect in it. He didn't see it as art, he saw it as survival. So when I was growing up, he didn't want me doing all of those. But I'm a child. I see things, I like them, I do them. So I started learning to draw. He eventually beat me out of it anyway. But I think he beat me out of it, but he didn't kill it. He didn't succeed in killing it because eventually, remember I said I grew up alone? I started understanding that art is storytelling. And I started finding ways to tell stories. I grew up alone. I didn't have many people I could talk to. My father always worked. My mom, she was always busy in the house. So we didn't have this relationship where father, mother, child talking. It was never there. So I learned to talk to myself. And the way to do that was to write stories. So I started writing. Officially, I think I remember I wrote my first story at about 2005. I was still in secondary school. I left secondary school in 2005, but that was when I wrote my first story. I don't remember what the story was about, but I know I wrote my first piece. I gave to my literature teacher, and I don't remember what he did with it, but I wrote the first one, wrote the second one, kept writing. In 2011, I decided, okay, I think I'm going to put my works together and publish. And so I did a self-published publication, a collection of poetry. I titled it One Day in the Feeling Light of Dusk. Self-published, caught the interest of a Kenyan writer called Vincent de Paul. Then he decided he wanted me to be one of his writers. He was starting a publishing house. mystery publishers in Kenya, and that's how I got into the writing space big time.
Meanwhile, he's a prolific writer.
I try. I try.
He writes so well.
I try. Well, so 2013, I went to serve NYC. I was posted to Imo State. I served in a village called Abacheke in Imo State. In that village, we didn't have power supply. So I had my that mini HP computer and my BlackBerry smartphone. I bought a lot of smartphones, but that was my favorite. So because we didn't have power supply, we didn't really have many distractions. So I wrote every day. Like every day, writing was what I did. So if I spent 10 months in NYC, I spent 10 months writing actively. So it was on one of those days during my NYC that photography caught my interest. But even then, it wasn't as per I wanted to be a photographer so I could make money. Again, I didn't know what I exactly wanted to do. It was just me living my life happily. I mean, I enjoyed writing, I wrote. So when I eventually enjoyed taking pictures, I invested in the tools that would allow me to take pictures. But the business side came in when I realized, oh, I've spent premium, I need to recover money. You know, but then that's it. So photography for me was a transition from writing. It wasn't a switch, it just transition because I still write actively now. Although even like now, I write for myself and for a very close circle. Unlike before when I wrote for public consumption. Now I don't do magazine publications anymore. I also don't do published publications anymore. I just write for myself.
It just disturbs us on WhatsApp and all those places. If you are close like that, you know what I'm talking about. So I see that when we talk about photographers, I mean with our space. When I mean our space, like in Nigeria, a lot of photographers, and you see people are jumping from one wedding to the other, from one function, covering events and all of that. But it's not very common to see somebody say, oh, I am a runway photographer. Not very common. How did you come about runway photography? Like, why did you choose runway photography? And at what point did you get to and you tell yourself, damn, I'm good at this?
Okay, so I started photography in 2014. While doing photography from 2014, I was still applying for jobs. You know,
jobs, you mean white-collar jobs?
Yes,
wow.
Jobs. Because I was raised to be in the academics.
Okay.
So my basic foundation generally, I was raised to be in the academics.
Yeah, you were an English major, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so I was raised. I grew up with books. Remember, I said I'm an only child. I didn't have people I talked to. So and I didn't grow up privileged. And by privilege, I mean wealthy. Although I was still privileged. I mean, we had food to eat, but we didn't have TV in our house growing up. We had a transistor radio. But so all the knowledge I had, I was exposed to. Anything I had to learn about the world, I had to learn from books, and that was it. So it was books. And then maybe once in a while, interact with friends in school and all that. So I started photography 2014 officially, did that, was still applying for jobs, 2015, 2016, 2017. 2018, I attended Lagos Fashion Week Autumn Winter presentation. And that was in March, I think. Yes, March 2018. And there I met a photographer called CK Night Photo. That's his at CK Night Photo. That's his handle on Instagram. And he told me that he was invited there by a designer called Cinciano to come and shoot. I didn't know what runway was exactly. I knew my purpose of going there was I was new in Lagos. I knew I needed to network. I knew if you go to events, you meet people, you get contacts, because nobody knew me in Lagos.
This was when you were living in Lagos?
Yes. So I was new to Lagos, nobody knew me. So, and I had very limited funds. I had less than 6,000 in my pocket. So I just had to be very careful. And so I met CK, he said Tiziano invited him. And I was like, damn. So designers would invite you to come for a fashion show? I had no idea any such thing operated. Anyway, so the week after that was, no, 2 weeks after that was going to be Fashion's Finest Africa. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to learn how to DM designers that are going to be showcasing.
You guys,
And
see
so
this thing is
I
saying,
took time and I learned copywriting, and I sent DMs to like 35 designers. Was it FFA? No, it wasn't FFA. It was Arise Fashion Week 2018. So I sent DMs to like 35 designers, and about 4 responded. At the end of the day, I had 2 that booked that I should shoot for them, and that's how I got into it. I was very, very poorly equipped. I didn't know it at the time, but I was very poorly equipped. I did the best I could with the equipment that I had. And when I saw the opportunity that was there, the fact that not many people were majoring in it, I knew that this is something I would want to do because there was opportunity. The wedding space was saturated, still saturated. So the competition was very much. So it's a place where you had to be the person to get the booking at a level. I moved to Lagos from Abuja, so I knew what the space was like, the wedding space, the portrait space as well. But see, runway, it was new to everybody. Like, so people were doing it for fun. I decided I was going to do it and take it mainstream. And that's what I sustained doing since 2018. And now it's going to be a thing. But now that it's going to be a thing, well, God has been so kind. I hear people say I'm quite on top of the ladder, but that's what I hear people say. I think we're still building the industry, but we're making progress so far. But that's basically how I got into the runway space. Now I'm fortunate to also be official photographer to quite a number of fashion shows and be a strong support to the fashion industry here in Abuja. I decided to leave Lagos and stay here because this was a virgin territory. Lagos is quite competitive, not for runway photography, because I still compete there. But Abuja needs to grow, and so I'm here.
Okay. You actually just answered my very next question, because I was going to say Lagos, everybody would think that Lagos is the place for fashion and everything, but how do you then move from Lagos to Abuja?
I was looking for the legacy. So I went pro in runway photography after 2 years of doing it. So runway photography is a very different genre altogether. Like, so people think it is event photography or it is fashion photography. It is neither. So the runway might be an event. They might be showcasing fashion. It does not make it fashion photography. It does not make it event photography. Okay. I am not a fashion photographer. So if a designer calls me, I have to be broke to accept a fashion shoot booking.
Okay.
Like, so if you see me accept a fashion to shoot a collection as a lookbook or an editorial, I probably need money. And I needed that money that very time. Otherwise, I'll turn it down. There are guys that do it and do it very well. There are the guys that will do it better than I would. So I'd rather they do their thing. But you see the runway space, I like to say I own it. And because I took my time to like understudy it, learn the in and out of the whole thing, how to make it work. If something is going wrong, what are you going to do about it and all of that? I had to learn all of those. And it was difficult for me because I didn't really have anybody I was looking up to. I just knew some other people, and not even up to 5 other people who were doing the thing that I wanted to do, but they were not even around me. They were mostly in South Africa and some other countries, you know. So I went pro in it in 2019, December. For something I started shooting early 2018, it got to like December 2019 at Arise African Fashion Week before I realized, okay, my work has really matured. So then it struck me that this is not something that you might be the best wedding photographer. You get to the runway to mess you up. It's a different setup altogether.
I agree. Okay, so Abuja is, like you said, Abuja was like a virgin territory when you moved down here. And I would just want you to address what fashion has been, what the fashion industry was like when you moved to Abuja. If there's been progress in that space, and currently if there are like things that still needs to be improved on, what you think those things are that should be improved on.
Okay, so the fashion industry in Abuja is doing well for the Abuja market. The average Abuja designer. Over the years, I realized they would rather go to Lagos or some other countries to showcase their collections.
Why is that?
Than showcase in Abuja. The problem is with the fact that there's been very poor media representation for the fashion space. I think it's just about last year that I learned, okay, there's a photographer here that really shoots fashion photography the way it should be shot.
Okay.
I've never even met the guy. His name is Gabriel Adeyanju or something. I don't even know what he looks like, but I've seen his work.
Okay.
And I know that guy is phenomenal. I can't show the kind of work that guy does. Right? I give him his flowers. If people like that were in Abuja earlier, the industry would not be as slow as it is now. But we are making progress here. Designers here are doing very well, but they don't showcase here for the most part. And the reason for that is the platforms for them to showcase has not really been there as much. For the few platforms that we've had, the media presentation of these platforms that we've had has been very poor. The photography that comes out of these fashion shows, the production of these fashion shows, the modeling of these fashion shows, the reporting of these fashion shows. Because truth be told, for a designer to showcase a collection, they spend a lot of money. By a lot of money, I'm not talking 200,000. Sometimes it's in the millions. So you spend millions to make a collection, pay money to feature on a fashion show. You go and take part in a fashion show. It gets to be poorly produced by people who either don't know enough what they are supposed to do better, or assume that they know too much, or people who are supposed to know what to do but are poorly funded. Now, you go and showcase in these fashion shows, and you don't get good media out of it. No great pictures, no great videos. So how do you promote your show, yourself, your brand after the show? It becomes a problem. So when you've done that first time, second time, the third time, you don't want to try. Which is why a few years ago, when a brand like Men's Fashion Week came to Abuja, it became a big deal because this territory was virgin, right? I'm very happy for the success of Men's Fashion Week now, but I really wish that we have other fashion shows that are just as intentional as these guys are getting to be.
Okay, I know you've spoken about all of this, but I would want you to address like what really the challenges are. I mean, with Abuja, peculiarly in Abuja, what really are the challenges that the fashion industry is facing, and what do you think can be done to cushion the effects of these challenges? Like, I mean, to just, if possible, take away the challenges and just make the lives of everybody in this space easier.
Okay, I think for one, the most important challenge that comes to my mind is intentionality and purpose. Then there's media representation. That's it. Then there's funding. I don't bring funding first because you can fund the wrong project and get a very wrong result. So funding is not the most important thing. It is intentionality and purpose. I'll tell you how that works. There are fashion shows in Abuja. Some are being run as businesses. It shouldn't be. It should be a platform for businesses to scale, not a business itself.
Okay.
If you make it a business itself, you're now more focused on profit making, on how many millions are you going to make from this? What are you going to do with the money? Buy Mercedes Benz and all that. Meanwhile, that is not the goal of a fashion show. You're meant to be a platform that the industry, the designers, because the fashion show brings together the entire industry, fashion designers, photographers, filmmakers, makeup artists, models. It's an entire industry under one roof, right? So one person now wakes up and says, oh, I'm going to monetize this thing. How? So intentionality, you need to be very sure what you're doing and why you're doing it. If it's money you're looking to make, get out of the fashion space, like the fashion industry, the runway industry, fashion shows, just pack your load and leave it. Because these designers, their goal, their reason for being on that fashion show it's not aligning with what your vision is. So if you've not clearly defined your vision in a way that is going to be beyond you, then there's a problem somewhere. Then there's a part of media representation. This is in terms of the quality of pictures that comes out of these fashion shows, which starts with the quality of production that these fashion shows are given. The quality of videos, the stories that are being told, how the stories are being told and all that. Then the part of funding, sponsorship, participation, partnerships. These things are very lacking in Abuja. If these three things are fixed, many other things would just fall into place. Paying of models, paying for media coverage and all that. Because if the money day, you go pay models well. But if you don't have money, how much are you going to pay models? 10,000 in 2025. So it becomes a problem, you get. So it's really how it works. But if we can fix these three things, because these are the problems that I see. If we can fix these three things, every other thing I see will fall in place.
We're about to go on commercials now, but I would want to know if it's just a yes or no answer. Would you say these challenges are like what informed the concept behind the African Bridal Festival?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so we'll go on a break and we'll get to talk more about this after the break. We are super grateful to our sponsors for letting us use this beautiful space for the podcast. You will realize that we have a change of scenery already. We're just trying to let you know what is obtainable at the Breaks Point apartment. Earlier where we were was the beautiful and the amazing restaurant over there. Right now, we are inside the spa. It's known as the Bell Silhouette Medical Spa. You can already see that. So if maybe you don't want to be away from home, but you require some very good tending to your body, you want some very nice massage, you want, whatever you need, it's here. So I highly recommend. I highly recommend. So we go back to the conversation, right? So basically, what was the thing, right? What was the thing that you actually saw? Because I know that from the 2 editions that has been held, there's some form of intentionality to the designs that come to the African Bridal Fashion events platform. So what was that thing that made you actually say, oh, this is not being done well? I think that we can give designers a platform to do better. So what was that actual thing that made you think of African Bridal Fashion Week?
All right, so because I shoot fashion runway, I get to be exposed to a whole lot of different fashion shows.
Okay.
Afro-urban or whatever else. I imagined that designers would get more value from fashion shows if it's like this. You want to buy tomatoes, right? And you hear every other market, they sell tomatoes, shoes, da. And then you hear there is a tomato market.
Okay.
If you want to buy, where do you think you will go to?
You go to the tomato market.
Number one, because you are certain to see tomatoes there. You have options of different kinds of tomatoes. So you now have options, you now choose what you want. Instead of you just get to a market, now tomatoes, now you pay. And you go home simply because tomatoes. And then you also know that if you get to a tomato market, you are getting quality stuff because this is now tomatoes you sell now, so you expect something good. Now, even in a tomato market, if you don't have the money for the superior tomato and you just have basic you are a low funded person, you will still get some of those other tomatoes. It's what we wanted to do. So a show that is dedicated to a particular niche for a targeted, specific audience, so that the people that participate in that show, the designers, the models, whoever attends the show, get value from their attendance or their participation. Now, whenever I shoot fashion shows, I've always noticed that bridals get the attention. Like, so whenever a bridal collection comes, everybody's like, ooh, because look, in Africa, weddings it's a culture here, it's our way of life, it's how the way we love weddings in Africa. And when you're talking weddings in Africa, you're talking fashion, really. It's fashion that is the wedding in Africa, right? So I just thought, okay, so if we have an African Bridal Fashion Festival where every collection is African themed for African themed designers, targeting African brides who are looking to celebrate African culture, incorporate African culture into their wedding, or possibly even Oyinbo people that just want to, I like Benin bridal pieces or Yoruba bridal pieces. I'm getting married. I like to wear that because now we invite cultures from all over. We are in Africa. We're here wearing white gowns. It's not part of our original culture. So what if that script is flipped over and people out there get to see what we have to offer and also incorporate it? But that is it's not a dream that will be possible if they don't key into the story behind whatever it is that we have, and if we don't show it to them in the very first place. So ABFW was that platform, but now we've changed the name to ABFF, and we're on to celebrating.
Before we get to what informed the change of the name, I would say that from the second edition that took place last year, you would see that the work the designers showcased, I could tell that there was a level of intentionality that came into play with those designs. I mean, someone could showcase 4 pieces, some did 2, but you could see that they put nobody needed to tell you that these designers put so much into this collection. Was it like something that was communicated to the designers, or they just used their initiative? And was that what the brand was looking at that point in time to have brought about those amazing pieces at the time?
I think it's everything you just said and more. So it was what we were looking to do, because like I said earlier, we kind of missed the point of African Bridal Fashion Week in the first edition. So this time we saw it and we're going to do something about it. And what we're going to do about it was to now communicate the message clearer, so that each designer coming around know exactly what is expected of them. So this is not just, it's a fashion show now, it's a fashion event, bring your bridal pieces, come and showcase. So we are looking to showcase African culture here. Essentially, that's what it is, African culture. But in our doing that, we want to make sure that you really understand the assignment. So when you are curating the pieces that you're going to come around and showcase in that presentation, we are going to follow up. So when you do your sketching, just to make sure that you didn't just go to a wardrobe and pick pieces to come and showcase, we are going to make sure that we follow up from your thought process. What culture is your collection going to be representing, or is it going to be about? We'll make sure of that. You are doing your homework, we are doing our homework to make sure that you don't tell us you're bringing in Ghanaian culture and then you bring one from South Africa, because they are not the same. So if you're telling a story, better tell it right? So we followed up from the process of design, the illustration, to production, down to the quality of pieces, the fabrics that were used. Because it's a presentation. People are going to be sitting down and watching and seeing very closely what you are doing. So if you come around and showcase something that is not up to standard, it will affect your brand and then affect us. We don't want to be affected, so we protect you from affecting us. But protecting ourselves from you, we are going to be protecting you from yourself as well. So our way of helping you do better is to follow up with that supervision, which I really think is supposed to be what should be the standard for fashion shows. We should really be following up with designers so that we can help them do better as well. Not just do a fashion show, collect money from designer. For me, it doesn't really work.
I had asked before we went on the break that would you say that maybe the challenges that you had experienced in the fashion industry, what informed the concepts, the conception of the African Bridal Fashion Week, and you said yes. Okay, so since the second edition, there has been a modification to the name. I mean, we used to have the African Bridal Fashion Week, but it's since been changed to the African Bridal Fashion Festival. What would you say made for the change? What was the essence? What's the essence behind changing the name, and what are we looking to get? So when we are going to be having an African Bridal Fashion Festival next, what are we looking to get from that event that is different from what we had with African Bridal Fashion Week?
Okay, so the most important thing that informed the change that we've had from African Bridal Fashion Week to African Bridal Fashion Festival was the need for us to celebrate African culture. The platform should be to celebrate culture, not just to show fashion pieces, because fashion pieces on its own is empty. And there's really nothing to it. For me, it's just clothes, just like that. It's just like, for me, a wedding is empty without the actual story of the bride and the groom. But that's a different story. So the fashion itself is empty. But you see, the story behind the fashion is what makes it tangible, valuable. And now, when we are doing African Bridal Fashion Festival, we are looking to celebrate African culture, but you celebrate what you know, which is why now we are doing presentations, which is a way for designers it's a platform for designers to actually talk about their work, right? Help people to understand their work. And then as people understand their work, they can now connect to the story and join them to celebrate the cultures that they're celebrating. But of that, we've had some improvement as well. ABFF, as it stands now, is going to be a platform where participating genres across the different genres of the fashion industry are going to be collaborating more instead of just depending on each other for survival.
Okay, how do you mean?
So what we did before last year was we got together models, right? Of course, they get to be paid, pay makeup artists, pay hairstylists. Remember, the show is not funded. Like, the funding part of the industry affects us as well. So we are not immune to it. What we've done now, starting from this year's edition, what you should be expecting is to see ABFF as a platform where designers are going to be collaborating with models, collaborating with hairstylists, collaborating with makeup artists to get their presentations done. What informed that wasn't just a way for us to save money. It was the fact that, number one, remember when I said that last year we had limited number of models and designers and number of collections that designers were showcasing? We realized that when we had about 15 to 20 models, we initially assumed that, it's 4 pieces designers are showcasing now, so 20 models should be enough. But it wasn't enough. Because beyond the clothes, when you're showcasing African bridal pieces, it is not just the clothes that the makeup of it, the hairstyling of it, the accessorizing of it, everything counts. Such that it's going to be very difficult, if not near impossible, to have one model that is going to model for like 2, 3 multiple designers on ABFF. It's going to be very difficult, if not impossible.
Okay, so if I get you right now, what ABFF is looking at with a new edition coming up is that if, as a designer, if I am creating a collection and say I have 4 pieces in a collection, I should have access to 4 models.
4 models, exclusively.
Who don't necessarily have to represent another designer.
Not even necessarily. They are not even representing any other designer. Cool. So that's way, you have all the time in the world to mind your makeup, because you are showcasing a full cultural look, not just clothes. Okay. So the Igbo approach to bridal makeup is very different from the Fulani approach.
Yes.
It's very different from the Benin approach. You know that. So if you're doing a Benin look, we had a designer last year that showcased Benin look. We were able to get full bridal the clothes, but the hair wasn't properly done. The okuku and the other part wasn't properly done because there was no time. The model that wore her collection had worn other people's collection, other designers' collection before her. We're looking to change that. So if you have your 4 models, they have complete looks. So your hairdo, the makeup, the accessories, the pieces, everything work together. Also now, because it's going to be collaboration based, you are not showcasing alone as a designer. You are showcasing together as a team with every other person that's involved. So where you are telling the story, the cultural story of the pieces that you've made, the person that provided the accessories that you teamed up with for the accessories is going to be telling the story of the accessories. And so is the makeup, and so is the hair. So now it's teamwork instead of, we need to start encouraging collaboration instead of competition. So because it's an industry, no one person in this industry is more important than the other.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. So we've had the privilege of experiencing the African Bridal Fashion Week and the presentations. And now at this point, we are at the hell of a podcast. I'm just wondering, like, what's the vision behind the pod, and what do we intend to do with the pod?
The primary purpose of the podcast was to give people the chance to express themselves, but also get content, educational content, for us to keep our platforms active. And you know what happens with fashion shows, especially because fashion shows hold once a year. So you hold ABFF in January, right? So after the event in January, all your platforms are now down. From February, March, April, May, June, up until the next January again. So we thought, okay, if we come up with the idea of a podcast, right, people will be we have weekly content that we're going to be featuring. We show up weekly. It's when people see your face that they remember you are alive. So when we show up online, people remember, okay, we are still about what we are about. And so when we are doing the next edition, it's easier for us to do our marketing, our PR, and all that. Again, we are building our platform. So basically, that's what it is.
Okay, so it just feels like, though we're not having a runway at this point, but we keep giving back to our community. Let's say we're keeping what we have done before, we are still keeping it alive in your mind.
Exactly.
Let's come back to you now. We've known you as a photographer, a runway photographer for a while now, and you're delving into storytelling at this point. And let me just tell you, I'm expecting like one of the biggest movies from you soon. Just so when you're working, just have that at the back of your mind that there's somebody somewhere that's expecting one of the biggest movies in the country, and definitely to trend abroad from you. But what would you say is like the difference between being a photographer and being a storyteller, and what actually do you enjoy about storytelling that differs from what you enjoy being a photographer?
When you take pictures, you freeze the story. When you make videos, the story lives. I don't know if that... So there is the freezing of the story in time and chance. There is the story always being in motion. It is living. If I have a chance to see a video of my grandfather who has died talking, I studied English and literature in school. So when we were studying some of these English works and works from England, I realized that there were some pages online where you can go and you can hear the actual voice of Shakespeare in person. It might just be a sentence, but this is Shakespeare's voice. It's what videos do. It just keeps it alive always. Then also, this is a story you're going to be showing, hearing actual stories from actual people talking about actual events. I'm a documentary filmmaker now. So when you make documentaries, people are telling their stories. So this is not you took a picture, then you go to a caption on Instagram and you write a story in which you can make grammatical errors or whatever. You're not modifying anything. You're not changing. The story is telling itself right there. It's the value that I get. So just the ability to tell stories the way they are being told, the intentionality that goes into it is what I love about filmmaking. The fact that it just preserves this thing, and whenever you come back to that video, 10,000 years time, that voice is going to be that voice. It's not faked. It's not AI. It's not influence. This is a person sharing his own emotion. So beyond just the picture, you're seeing all the gestures, you're seeing the facial expression, things that the voice might not convey. Even when the voice conveys, the tone of voice says more about whatever the person is talking about. So there's this sense of fulfillment that I get from visual storytelling, from filmmaking, that I don't think I have from photography. So yeah, I major in it now.
Okay, that's interesting. One last question. I would want to know what your deepest desire is for the African culture space. So we talk about culture, fashion, arts, lifestyle, and all of that. For that sector of the industry, what is your deepest desire, and how do you think that stakeholders can what do you think that stakeholders can do to actually achieve this desire, taking you as a stakeholder as well?
Yeah. Right now, my deepest desire is to see that African culture is better documented. We are not documenting our culture. We are not. Much as the government might want to say that's not true, the truth of the matter is that we are not documenting our culture. In fact,
and this is not just a Nigerian
no,
thing,
it's
right?
not. African culture is not documented.
Okay.
I don't really blame us too much, but I do blame us, because by now, if we are still blaming things on the things that are supposed to have been left behind in 1914, then there's a problem somewhere. African literature is oral, essentially. So our grandfathers told stories, passed them on to our fathers. Our fathers relived the stories, pass them on to us. It's how it has been. But we're at an age where that's not very sustainable anymore. We no longer tell moonlight stories. The one thing we can rely on right now to sustain the storytelling is media. But that part is not properly invested in Africa. There are people who are doing their bits, but the intentionality is not really there exactly. We need to be able to have a gallery of the arts where cultures are documented and researches can be conducted, so that we can learn about Kanuri culture, about Hausa culture, about this, about that.
The museums are supposed to be.
It's what they are supposed to be doing, but are they doing it? So the simple reason that they are not doing it is why I talked about intentionality. Because you can't just be doing something for the sake of doing it. Otherwise, you miss the point of whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing something and you're approaching it with intentionality and purpose, you start factoring out what is missing, what needs to be done, and all that. But that is not the case here. People are just doing it because, let's just do it to fulfill our righteousness. It's not how things are supposed to be. We need to be very intentional about documenting African culture, because I really think that our government don't even realize that we are missing out on a lot. I see documentaries sometimes from the West, or Igbo people, and they're telling you the story of JFK. And you have pictures and videos of JFK when he was 5 years old. I'm like, how? Did they know that he was going to be president one day? They didn't know. But the documentation was there. This is not AI. There's the intentionality that goes into it. People pay for these things. In Africa, we just take it for granted. Our kings just die like that. We don't know whatever it was that was behind whatever it is that they were doing. Where did this kingdom come from? Whatever has happened, we just now rely on hearsay. And now, it's so bad that if you want to learn about African culture now, you rely on the white man to tell a story. So it's the stories that you've seen from BBC and CNN that when you're researching about Africa, you go to BBC. What Sarah is doing? But because we can't just rely on these media channels, we have to own it. And it's when people like me and you and every other person come together, do our own bit into researching Ojide Oba or some other festivals about any other thing about African lifestyle, that's how we get to achieve whatever it is that we are going to be achieving. And I really believe that it's possible.
It is actually. And I'm not sure that you realize how deep of a person you are, because this conversation, right, has been very, very deep. I'm sure that anybody watching would agree with me, and sincerely grateful that you agreed. It's not like you had a choice anyway. It's not like you had a choice, but
You
I'm
got me.
sincerely grateful that you made time to do this with us. I'm going to let you go now, but before I let you go, I have some fast fire questions that I need you to answer. And you can't think about it. You
Okay.
just give me the answer straight up.
Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Photography or videography?
Videography.
Lagos or Abuja? Now, I can allow you to think about this. This I can allow you to think about. Lagos
Abuja.
or Abuja? Okay. US, UK, or Canada?
Nigeria.
Huh. Okay. Private presentations or public runways?
Private presentations.
Ha. Okay. Fashion shoots or portraiture? I know
Portraiture.
that. Really? Wow. Okay. What's your most remarkable runway show that you've worked on?
Okay, so because you said runway show,
Yeah, runway.
because you said runway show and ABFF is not a runway event, I'm going to skip ABFF and go right up to Arise Fashion Week 2018.
Okay.
The pieces that were showcased on that runway were just wild. Until date, I don't think I've seen any other fashion show where that level of work was displayed.
Okay.
I mean, I've shot a whole lot of other fashion shows, of course. But see, Arise Fashion Week 2018, it was a different level. I wasn't there when they did the 2019 edition. I was depressed. I was in a village. I was trying to recover, but yes.
Okay, so you guys don't mind him for that thing. I mean, Arise is such a great platform and all of that, and he's just trying to be politically correct. But nobody, no brand, no show comes close to ABFF. Just take it from me. Believe me when I say this. Well, this has been very entertaining. I mean, it's been entertaining. It's supposed to be very informative is the first thing I say,
Yes.
but I mean, it's been very entertaining to me. It's been very enlightening as well. Thank you so much for coming on the pod and doing this with me today. I really appreciate that. So, guys, you know how interesting this could continue to be is when you subscribe to this channel. Whenever you see this, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you leave us your comments. Make sure that you like. Make sure that you also share across all your social media platforms. Share to your friends. Share to your loved ones. Also, very much importantly, share it to your enemies. You guys can beef each other, but please don't beef us. So share as well to your enemies. We're so grateful that you watched this, and we are hoping that you get to live the experience with us on the subsequent episodes that will be coming through. Thank you very much. This has been a hell of a podcast.